I still remember the exact moment my future was stolen. It was a sunny afternoon in May 2015, and I was sitting at our kitchen table, surrounded by college acceptance letters from top business schools. "We need to talk about your brother," Mom said, placing a manila envelope on the table. Inside was the documentation for my college fund, the one I'd watched grow since I was 6, the one they'd promised would help me achieve my dreams. "What about Tommy?" I asked, though I already knew. My brother, 2 years older and perpetually struggling, had dropped out of his 3rd college attempt. The pattern was familiar. Enroll, party, fail, repeat. "He's found his path," Dad joined in, his voice carrying that hopeful tone reserved for Tommy's latest ventures. "He wants to start a business. A real one this time." I looked at the acceptance letter from Wharton, my dream school, the one I'd worked 4 years to get into. "What does that have to do with my college fund?" "Your brother needs the money more," Mom said, sliding the envelope closer to herself. "You can go to state. They offered you a partial scholarship and you can work part-time." "But that's my money," I protested, my voice breaking. "You promised. You both promised." "Family helps family," Dad replied firmly. "Tommy has a real business plan this time. A food truck concept. Very innovative." I wanted to laugh, but the sound stuck in my throat. Tommy's innovative ideas were legendary in our family. The underground nightclub that never opened, the cryptocurrency that never launched, the social media app that never made it past his napkin sketches. "I got into Wharton," I whispered. "Do you know how hard that was?" "And you'll do just as well at state," Mom said, her tone indicating the discussion was over. "You're the responsible one, Emma. You'll figure it out." The responsible one. That's what they always called me. While Tommy blazed through their money and patience with equal speed, I was the steady one. The reliable one. The one who didn't need help because she always figured things out. That night, I sat in my room surrounded by acceptance letters that might as well have been rejection slips now. My phone buzzed with a text from my best friend, Lisa. "How'd it go? Did you tell them about Wharton?" I stared at the message, tears blurring my vision. Then I did something I'd never done before. I got angry. Really angry. Opening my laptop, I pulled up the business plan I'd been working on secretly for the past year. While Tommy had been dreaming up food trucks, I'd been analyzing market trends, studying successful startups, and building a blueprint for something real. Another text from Lisa. Plan B. Plan B. We joked about it, but suddenly it didn't feel like a joke anymore. Lisa's uncle was a venture capitalist who'd been intrigued by my ideas when she'd mentioned them at a family dinner. "Bring me a solid plan," he'd said, "and we'll talk." I looked at my carefully crafted presentation, the market analysis, the 5-year projections. Then I looked at the empty space where my college fund used to be. "Plan B," I texted back. The next morning, I walked into the kitchen where my parents were fawning over Tommy's latest business proposal, complete with cartoon food truck drawings. "I've made a decision," I announced. "About state." Mom looked up briefly. "Good. You can commute from home to save money." "No," I said firmly. "I'm not going to state. I'm not going to college at all." That got their attention. Even Tommy looked up from his drawings. "Don't be ridiculous," Dad started, but I cut him off. "You're right. Family helps family. So you're helping Tommy start his business with my college fund. Fine. But I'm going to start my own business too." "With what money?" Mom scoffed. "Don't be dramatic, Emma." I pulled out my laptop, opening my presentation. "With investment capital. I have a meeting with Riverside Ventures next week. They're interested in my software platform concept." "Software platform?" Tommy laughed. "Since when do you know anything about software?" "Since I spent the last 2 years teaching myself coding while you were dropping out of colleges," I replied coolly. "The same 2 years I spent developing this business plan while you were drawing food trucks. 7 years passed like a montage in a success story movie. My software platform, initially designed to help small businesses streamline their operations, evolved into Emacore Technologies, a company valued at over $400 million. While Tommy burned through my college fund on a food truck that lasted 3 months, I built something that would last. Lisa's uncle, James Chin of Riverside Ventures, hadn't just provided funding, he'd become a mentor, teaching me the intricacies of business leadership that no college could match. The irony wasn't lost on me that losing my college fund had actually given me a better business education than Wharton might have. I kept tabs on my family through Lisa, who remained friends with Tommy's girlfriend. My parents had remortgaged their house twice to fund his subsequent ventures, a failed cryptocurrency trading scheme and an equally unsuccessful attempt at starting a premium dog food brand. Now sitting in my corner office on the 40th floor of the Emmacor building, I studied the resume on my desk. Thomas Anderson. My brother had finally decided to use his full name, probably thinking it sounded more professional. He's here for the regional sales manager interview, my assistant Sarah informed me. Should I send him in? Give me 5 minutes, I replied, adjusting my nameplate so it showed only E. Anderson. Tommy had no idea I was running Emmacor. As far as my family knew, I was doing something with computers, somewhere in the city. When he walked in, I almost didn't recognize him. Gone was the casual confidence that had characterized his youth, replaced by the slightly desperate look of someone who'd run out of second chances. His suit was off the rack and slightly too big, probably borrowed. Mr. Anderson, I greeted him formally, not looking up from his resume. Please have a seat. Thank you for seeing me, he said, his voice carrying an unfamiliar humility. I've followed Emmacor's success story closely. Have you? I finally looked up, watching recognition slowly dawn on his face. Emma. His voice cracked. You're the CEO, yes. I gestured to his resume. Interesting career path you've had. 5 different ventures in 7 years. All, according to this, learning experiences. He slumped in his chair, the borrowed suit making him look smaller somehow. You knew I was coming for this interview. I know everything that happens in my company, Tommy. Or should I say Thomas? The silence that followed was heavy with 7 years of unspoken words. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows behind me, the city sprawled out, a concrete and glass reminder of how far I'd come from that kitchen table where my dreams had been dismissed. The food truck, he finally said. I wanted to apologize about that. About taking your college fund. Did you? I kept my voice neutral. Or did you want to apologize because you're sitting in my office, hoping I'll give you a job? His face flushed. That's not fair. Fair. I couldn't help but laugh. Let's talk about fair, Tommy. Let's talk about how our parents emptied my college fund money I'd watched grow since I was 6, to fund your latest sure thing. Let's talk about how they remortgaged their house twice more to keep funding your failures while telling me I was the responsible one, who could figure things out on my own. I didn't ask them to do that, he protested weakly. No. You didn't stand in that kitchen watching them take my future apart and say nothing? You didn't cash that check knowing it was meant for my education? He had no answer for that. The ironic thing, I continued, standing to look out over the city, is that losing my college fund was the best thing that could have happened to me. It taught me something valuable about family, about business, and about trust. Emma, Tell me about your latest venture, I interrupted, turning back to face him. The premium dog food brand. Possum Eats, wasn't it? His face fell further. How did you know about that? Like I said, I keep track of things. Just like I kept track of the cryptocurrency trading scheme before that. And the social media app that never made it past the planning stage. Did you ever stop to think about why none of these ventures succeeded? Bad timing, he muttered. Market conditions. No, I cut him off. They failed because you never did the work. You had ideas. Everyone has ideas. But you never learned the fundamentals, never built the foundation. You thought success was about the big gesture, the innovative concept. You never understood it's about the 1,000 small decisions made every day. I pulled up a file on my computer, turning the screen so he could see it. This is your financial history for the past 7 years. Every loan, every investment, every failure. Did you know I could have bought mom and dad's house 3 times over with what they lost funding your ventures? Tommy stared at the screen, his face pale. Why are you showing me this? Because you're here for a job interview and I believe in informed decisions. I closed the file. The regional sales manager position requires someone who understands responsibility, who can build something sustainable. Your resume shows the opposite, a pattern of starting things you never finish, of taking resources you never repay. People can change, he said quietly. I've learned from my mistakes. Have you? Let's test that theory. I pulled out another file. This is your current financial situation. You're 3 months behind on your rent. Your credit cards are maxed out. You have exactly $127 in your checking account. His eyes widened. How did you dash? I told you I keep track of things. Now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to offer you a choice, the kind of choice our parents never gave me. I placed 2 envelopes on the desk. Envelope 1 contains a job offer, not for regional sales manager, but for junior sales associate. Entry level. You'll start at the bottom, learn the business properly, work your way up based on merit, not family connections. And envelope 2? Enough to cover your debts and fund another one of your sure things. The same amount that was in my college fund 7 years ago. The silence in the office was deafening. Tommy stared at the envelopes, his hands shaking slightly. Why are you doing this? Because 7 years ago someone took my choice away. They decided they knew better than I did about my future. I'm giving you something they never gave me, the chance to make your own decision knowing all the facts. He reached for the envelopes, then pulled his hand back. What's the catch? The catch is reality, Tommy. If you take the job, you work. Really work for the first time in your life. No shortcuts, no special treatment. If you take the money, we're done. No more chances, no more family bailouts. You'll have exactly what you took from me, one shot at building something real. Tommy stared at the envelopes for what felt like an eternity. Finally, with hands that trembled slightly, he reached for envelope 1, the job offer. Interesting choice, I said, keeping my voice neutral. Why that one? Because, he replied, his voice barely above a whisper, it's what you would have done 7 years ago. I couldn't help but laugh. No, Tommy. 7 years ago I didn't get a choice. That's the difference between us, you always had choices. You just made the wrong ones. The next few weeks were an education, for both of us. Tommy started in the junior sales division, learning our software platform from the ground up. No corner office, no executive title, just a cubicle and a training manual. I watched through the security cameras sometimes, seeing him struggle with basic tasks, watching him learn what real work felt like. He stayed late, came in early, and for the first time in his life, earned every dollar he made. Our parents, of course, had opinions about the situation. A cubicle? Mom's voice was shrill over the phone when Tommy told them about his new job. But you're an entrepreneur. No, Mom, I heard him reply. I may have had his phone tapped for security purposes, of course. I was a dreamer. There's a difference. Dad tried to intervene, showing up at my office unannounced one afternoon. My assistant tried to stop him, but he blustered his way through. Emma, he said, taking in my office with obvious shock. All this time, you've been running EmmaCore? Surprised. I asked, not offering him a seat. Hard to believe the responsible one built something this successful without your help? We always knew you'd do well, he attempted. No, I corrected him, you always knew I'd figure things out on my own. There's a difference. Just like there's a difference between supporting someone and enabling them. About Tommy's position dash. Is entry level, which is where everyone starts. I cut him off. Even me. The difference is I started my company from nothing because someone took my something away. Tommy's starting from the bottom because he finally chose to. The weeks turned into months. Tommy's sales numbers were decent, not outstanding, but solid. He learned the product, understood the market, and most importantly, learned what it meant to build something real. One evening, about 6 months into his employment, he knocked on my office door. Do you have a minute? He asked, looking more like the brother I remembered from childhood than he had in years. Clock's ticking, I replied, gesturing to the chair across from my desk. I found this in my old stuff, he said, placing a faded piece of paper on my desk. It was a crayon drawing from when we were kids, a crude business plan I'd made for a lemonade stand. Remember this? I picked up the drawing. Age had yellowed the paper, but the careful calculations of a 10-year-old entrepreneur were still visible. Cost of lemons, $2. Sugar, $1. Cups, $3. Expected profit, $20. I made $43 that summer, I recalled. You tried to convince me to invest it in your puppet show business. Which failed spectacularly, he added with a self-deprecating smile. Just like everything else I tried. Until now. I looked at him questioningly. I get it now, he continued. Why you made me start at the bottom. Why you wouldn't just give me the money. Success isn't about the big ideas or the quick wins. It's about building something solid one day at a time. Took you long enough to figure that out. Yeah, well, I had a good teacher. He paused, fidgeting with his tie, a habit from childhood that emerged when he was nervous. I have a proposal for you. If this is about a promotion dash. It's not, he interrupted. It's about Mom and Dad's house. The one they remortgaged to fund my failures. I want to help them keep it, but I want to do it right this time. I leaned back in my chair intrigued. I'm listening. My commission from the Henderson account. It's enough for 3 mortgage payments. I was thinking if I could work out a payment plan, maybe take some extra shifts. I held up my hand to stop him. You want to use your honestly earned money to fix a problem you helped create. He nodded, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. Now that, I said, pulling out my checkbook, is an investment I might be interested in matching. I'm not helping you, Tommy. I'm investing in someone who's finally learned the value of real work. There's a difference. I wrote out the check. But this comes with conditions. Of course, he nodded eagerly. First, you continue working your way up properly. No shortcuts. Second, Mom and Dad need to understand this isn't a bailout. It's a business arrangement. They'll repay every penny with interest. And third, I smiled, pulling out that old lemonade stand business plan. You frame this and put it in your cubicle as a reminder that success starts small. 3 months later, I stood in my parents' living room watching them sign the refinancing papers. The house would stay in their name, but with a manageable payment plan and a valuable lesson attached. We were wrong, Mom said quietly, her eyes on the framed lemonade stand plan I'd given them as a housewarming gift. About everything. Not everything, I corrected her. You taught me to be responsible. You just forgot to teach me how to dream big while staying grounded. Luckily, I figured that out on my own. And as I watched Tommy explain our software platform to Dad with genuine enthusiasm and knowledge, I realized that sometimes the best revenge isn't just proving people wrong, it's helping them learn how to be right.